So something I want to share with you guys that I've been working on in the field is working on my reach back. So sometimes when I look at my swing, I do get a little roundy. And so a good way to fix that for me when I'm practicing is kind of like feel like you're almost bending your elbow. Because if you don't have any elbow bend in your backswing, it's very likely that you're gonna come through and round. So I've been starting my swing with a little bit of bend. So when I reach back, first thing coming forward is my elbow, and then it creates this kind of motion coming with the kind of this part of your arm kind of whipping through like that, as opposed to doing something like this. So coming here, boom, straight back with the elbow, straight through, and then rotate through.
Do you do a standstill full speed?
Yeah.
Real quick?
Mm-hmm.
So I get on top of Wendy.
Ready?
Nice. Beautiful.
24.
No. 24?
24.
24. Welcome back, champions.
How you doing, champions?
14 speeds.
Yeah.
A lot going on. But before we get to that, we talk about the
Yeah, of course.
the big check in the room, the elephant in the room?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're in the Phoenix area, the store is on 35th Avenue and Bell Road, which is more central, west central, northwest central,
Yeah.
Phoenix. Ricky Wysocki was nice enough, because Ricky is part owner in this store,
Correct.
and he was nice enough before he went on tour to drop some of his favorite trophies off. We've got the check from this year's Tour Championship that he won. So if you're in the area, you can come get your picture taken with the check. You can come get your picture taken with the MPO trophy, which is pretty cool. So we'll have that set up. It's not set up yet, but it will get set up so that you can stand next to it, get a picture taken. That's kind of a neat thing. And then see some of his other items that he brought in that are European Masters Champion trophy. This trophy here from
Cascade Challenge.
Challenge.
Well, this one's the Silver Creek, but
the big axe. Yeah, that's really cool. So there's a bunch of stuff in here for you to come check out, besides all the great discs and some of the Ricky memorabilia. It's pretty cool. Nice of him to do that, huh?
oh yeah, and it's such a cool little section to have.
Yeah. Yeah, in the
A
store.
bunch of hardware
Yeah.
from years of hard work.
Yeah. Yeah, his World Amateur.
That's right. Yeah. So when he was a
Brought that
kid,
He brought his World Amateur trophy in, which is pretty cool.
yeah, I mean, he has his face on a buzz for winning the World Amateur. I mean, how cool is that?
That's pretty cool, too.
I wonder if they still do that.
I don't know. I thought that was it for winning it, or was it his player's package?
I can't imagine every player got a buzz, a one-of-one buzz
Okay. That would make sense that maybe it was because he won it. The guy
for
came
the, yeah, because it came with a pretty cool trophy too.
Yeah. Awesome. And now we have 14 speeds, which you're going to talk about. These things are hard to throw.
Yeah, so I picked 14 speeds because it is a weird gap, but it is, I mean, it almost seems like the people that like 14 speeds really like their 14s. I mean, it's the fastest speed on the market. There was a 15 speed once upon a time made by Salient, and they went under ages ago, so no more 15 speeds. That was probably an omen to the other manufacturers to not go above 14, because that's just silly. I'll start with the one right here. This is a really unique disc. It's got almost a Vulcan top to it. It's really understable. It's a 14.5 minus 3.2, I want to say, minus 3.3. It's made by ABC Discs. If you've heard of ABC Discs, they're out in Indiana. The guy that runs Zing Minis, his name's Craig, I can't remember his last name, makes these now. The original guy that was making these passed away, and they were business friends. Cool bit of history behind the disc and the company itself, actually. So Zing Minis produces all of ABC's discs now. They were close business associates with sharing secrets on how to injection mold and what obstacles they both come across, and kind of share things with each other on how this stuff works. So really cool disc, and it's been pretty popular so far, even for being a really small brand. A lot of good reviews on the B-line.
That actually feels really, really good.
Yeah, I agree. Plastic feels good. The rim feels good. It's pretty sharp.
Yeah, very
It's come down to a very sharp point. So
you got to have your angle right when you release that, because I have a feeling that sharp
A little more punishing, you think?
Could be.
I could see that.
Hmm.
Although I think all of these are going to be sharp, just not as sharp as this one. Next up, we got a Legacy Rampage. This one is slightly blunter. Legacy has a reputation for being more overstable. This is a 14.5 -1.4. So to think that this would be more overstable than the flight number says is obnoxious. I don't know if anybody really would have a need for something like this, but Legacy's got a few really fast discs on their resume. So
Good if you have a big hand or what?
yeah, if you got a big hand and a big arm, should work for you. Speaking of big arms, Simon really likes this, the Dimension. He's been making this one popular, 14.503. To give it a 5 glide, I feel like this thing, I don't think any average arm is going to make this 5 glide make it look like a 5. I think any mortal human is going to have a really hard time throwing this thing. It feels chunky. Very hefty disc.
Yeah. Oh, man. That is a lot of rim.
Yep. That's what you get with the 14s. And some people think you need the fast disc to go far, and some people you kind of do have to have the fast disc. This is one of the more popular forehand discs in the store, the Ballista Pro. Definitely more understable than it says it is. They call it a 14.404, I want to say, 14.03. I've seen guys mash forehands with these and pump them 500 feet, which is nuts to think about. But Tom's throwing them too. This is an Albert Tom Opto X edition.
Makes sense that he'd be throwing them then.
Yep, he's got a big old arm. I'm sure he throws them in the distance comps too.
Oh, that's really domey. It's funny how these 14 speeds kind of fit well.
Company to company, they're going to feel a little bit better depending on what you like and what you prefer. Because like the Legacy Rampage feels way bigger than the Corvette does.
Yeah.
The Ballista Pro feels much more comfortable than the Dimension does. Speaking of Corvette, I mean, this is the easiest throwing 14-speed ever made, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be up there with the King, actually. The King is known as a bomber, but I know a lot of old guys really like their Corvette for being a really easy throwing 14. So they're getting farther than any other disc out there with their Corvettes. You threw a Corvette for a while.
I still have it in the bag right now.
Beautiful.
Yeah, this is a 173. Mine's 143, and if I don't release it on any sort of a hyzer, it will go right and never come back.
No chance of coming back, right?
Zero chance of coming back.
They only give it a -1 turn, so if you're throwing it flat and it turns without coming back, and given it is a lighter weight disc, but
yeah, it's a great disc. It's really fun.
I mean, out of the box, it's more understable than that -1 would make you think.
Yeah, this is a really fun disc. If you haven't thrown a Corvette and your arm speed somewhere under 55, I think you'll really enjoy this. 55 miles an hour, I think you'll really enjoy this.
And being realistic, the Corvette is the most popular 14-speed on the table here, too. This one is my favorite 14-speed. I love this disc. This is a Castoplast Rask. It is so weird. And they call it a 14, even though it's got what to me feels like an 11-speed rim. It's really nice and shallow. It's got an underplate to fight the wind. So it's very overstable. It's something that you can really trust into the headwind. To even throw it flat or even on an anhyzer, it will fight out of it.
Oh,
super
cool.
fun disc.
That's
if you've got a masher of a forehand, try this thing out. That second lip underneath will fit perfectly on a stacked forehand grip.
Wow, that's
it is
really,
an awesome disc.
That's really interesting.
And they didn't stamp these, and I think they didn't stamp them because of that underlip. Like you can't get a good clean foil transfer, so they did this weird etching on the bottom to show that it is a Castoplast disc at the end of the day. You see it's flat. It's not overly stiff. The rim is definitely smaller than anything on the table.
Wow.
But that shallowness, I think, does give it a true like 14-speed flight. This is the King, the Westside King. Pretty old disc. This is one of the first 14 speeds ever made, I think. It's a pretty old disc. They give it a 14, I want to say 5 -2.2. If my memory serves correct, on the understable side. Definitely a bomber. I found them to be really understable, so it's really got to be released pretty far down here. But again, slower arm speeds will get some good use out of this, especially if you find it in a lighter weight.
Yeah. I'm a West Side guy. Me and Matty O.
There's a lot of West Side crew out there. The
That's
West
nice
Side
plastic
has a,
too. Oh,
yeah.
What plastic is that?
That's a tournament plastic. That's
Oh.
Hannah Wynn's last disc before she left. Last but not least, the Destiny. Destiny is an awesome disc. This for me was a straight out roller, just throwing it flat and let it hit the ground at the perfect angle and slowly standing up. I found the hybrids to be slightly more stable, so it was more of an air shot disc. Same with the Lucids, actually, more of an air shot. They give it a -2 turn, 2 fade. So it did end up kind of dead straight ahead of you at the end of the flight, but it would go very, very far. Destiny's a cool disc, man. And as far as 14 speeds go, this is very, very comfortable in the hand.
Yeah, it's very throwable. I've had 3 of them now. 2 of them are in Fountain Hills Lake, and the other one's in my bag. But for, again, arms that are under 55 miles an hour, I found a 166
There you go.
gram.
Yep.
This is a one that feels like a 175.
It's heavier,
So
yeah.
this is really beefy, and if you've got a big arm, it's no big deal. But if your arm isn't throwing faster than 55 miles an hour, this is still an option for you. But I highly recommend finding one in the 160 weight category, 160 weight gram category.
Well, being heavier will make it a lot more torque resistant. So if you're
Okay.
trying to get any kind of turn out of it, get a lighter weight.
Yeah, and if it flies great, it's a wonderful disc. It's got a lot of it's got a lot of carry,
Glide.
a lot of glide.
Stay
Why
up
do
in
I
the
always
air.
forget glide? I always forget glide. Sorry.
Well, it was float for a long time.
It was float. It was float. Root beer float was in there for a while. I'll just make up my own words for this thing as we go. That's
Well,
awesome.
the sport has a lot of growing to do.
Hmm.
So nomenclature, I think, will change.
Maybe not. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, what is it?
Heiser?
No.
Float?
Float.
Glide.
Glide. I don't know why it doesn't fit to me. It just doesn't fit, but
Well, I think
I'm
it's
not
got a
saying
great...
change it. I got to figure it out.
I just think there will be things that will change going forward. I think it's got a good foundation for nomenclature.
Well, you hate numbers on discs anyway.
I don't like the numbers, yeah, because
Right.
people rely on them too heavily, and they're way too trusting in what they say. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's not accurate all the time. It's a reference.
Won't it be interesting with the tech disc if it starts to go towards best for arms under this speed?
Oh, I love that.
Like it'll fly straight if you throw it between this mile an hour and this mile an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Straight.
Yeah, so you
That's
can,
all it says.
Uh-huh.
So if you're above it, then it's going to turn. If you're below it, then it's going to go.
Yep.
How about that?
Well, that would be amazing. And that's
Yeah.
actually probably the next step for them, I would think.
Then they don't have to deal with the 4 numbers. It's just, it all has to do with this.
Mm-hmm.
So if your arm speed's 70 miles an hour, some discs will fly straight.
Yeah.
Then you can pretty much guarantee that disc is super stable.
Yeah. And they already show the flight path on there for what you're throwing because
Mhm.
you can enter the flight numbers and then it gives you an idea of what it throws. Obviously, when you go out and throw in a field, it's going to do something completely different, but it at
Yeah.
least has the beginning stages of that
Right.
in the programming.
Does MVP do that if you throw it at a certain miles per hour? It shows what the flight of the disc probably will do.
Yeah, it takes a little while to kind of stare at that graph they have for every disc because it looks like the rim of a disc.
Yeah.
But they have different colors to kind of represent what the disc does for certain arm speeds, yes. Which is really clever.
But they don't identify arm speeds, do they? They say sort of beginner, intermediate, advanced.
Yes, and because I think they're building off of what Innova did, because Innova's had that for a long time. Well,
So-
Infinite Discs has had that for a long time.
That to me is where the change likely fits, is what they've already done with the beginner, medium, and advanced chart of what a disc will do
Right,
to miles per hour. This is what it'll do.
For
'Cause
sure.
It's really the same thing, right?
it would
You're
be,
talking about advanced players are throwing with more miles per hour.
yes.
All the things that we saw in the last episode with the data, right?
It would be great to see a 5 mile an hour increment on each flight path to show how understable or overstable
I would
discs
say
will.
I would say 10. 5's getting into the nitty
Is
gritty.
that too much? Well,
Yeah.
talk about nitty gritty. This dimension's a 14.5
Yeah.
speed.
That's pretty cool.
They do a lot of 0.5s and
We
decimals.
saw one. Yeah, you brought that up the other day. I don't know which one was like 0.5, 0.5.
Oh yeah, that's the watt.
The watt.
Negative half.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. That's really dialing it in.
And as far as flight numbers are concerned, I would say MVP is the best in terms of what the disc actually does for the majority of users.
Yeah. Okay. I know they come out of the gate pretty stable, but they do breaking fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful company doing great things. But it's going to be interesting to see if these manufacturers can figure out a way to take a mold like this and to be able to put more of the plastic and thin this out enough so that you still get the same sort of gyro effect.
Sure. Put a little more weight on the outside.
More weight on the outside. Because right now, if you look at Innova, and they're going with their light weights, which is great. We love seeing it. But it almost seems like the outside is paying the price for that weight loss.
Oh, yeah.
Not necessarily here.
No, all the weight seems to be in the plate, which takes the glide away.
Correct.
Yeah.
I would think that the center would be where you'd want to lose as much as possible and put whatever you can on the outside for that gyro effect.
Some discs do feel thinner in the flight plate region. Like the new Discraft Cicada felt a lot thinner than a River does. A River feels so much sturdier than the Cicada did, and it was because of that flight plate depth. It really felt thin where the majority of the weight was on the rim.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense.
To your point.
Well, just like craft beer, you don't always get there with the first, but eventually you get to where
you master your recipe.
You master your recipe.
Well, and Innova's been doing this for such a long time where they put the bubbles in the rim to make it a very, very light disc. So it's definitely working for them,
But is it?
It could work better.
Is it? Because it just seems to me that if you're taking away that rotational aspect of it because it's lighter, it's not getting that centrifugal force.
Yeah,
so
to stay spinning.
To stay spinning.
Which is ultimately how you get the disc to glide. It was very eye-opening throwing that tech disc.
Can we give a shout out to Pete Ulibarri, who just did a video, and maybe we'll put a link in here?
Oh yeah, we should, absolutely.
So where he's talking about the edge of discs.
The parting line.
The parting line and how it affects air going over or under. He did a great video explaining that, and I think it really helps people when you're looking at new discs, how the science works with that airflow and what makes them go left, what makes them go right, so on and so forth.
Easily the best explanation for that I've ever heard.
He really had a cool little...
it had like almost a little wind to show, and the rim was adjustable.
Yeah.
To show what the wind would do when it hit the disc.
Yeah, he had whatever that was, tangible in his hand that was showing that if you change it this way, the wind's going to do more. If you change it this way, the wind's going to do less. It's very cool. Just check it out. We'll put the link attached to this. Pete, great job up there. He's up there in the mountains.
Up in Cholo again, yeah.
I'm assuming he lives up there, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's from up there. So
yeah. I get a lot of snow right now. It's 74 down here, Pete.
Well, I'm sure right when it hit, I think it hit 80 degrees the other day. He's like, I got to get out of here. Yeah. It's coming. I'll take some snow.
Yeah. But he's going, well, I'm at Wilderness Ranch, so there's that.
so yeah.
And if anyone hasn't played Wilderness Ranch up in Cholo, do yourself a favor and make the journey. Go up there, spend the weekend. It's absolutely fantastic. He's done an amazing job with that place.
It's got a ton of character, and it is a very technical course. Super fun.
But fun.
Best one in Arizona, actually.
Technical, but fun. And if you play the back tees, it's hard.
Well, goodness, if you play the long tees, it's really hard.
Good luck. I think the best players in Arizona that came out for that, for the Arizona Open, I'm not sure it was that far under par for the 3-day event. I don't think they were. For states, yeah. I don't think they were that far under par.
No, because it's really tough to score.
It's so hard.
Hole 2 was a par 5, and it has a triple mandatory.
Yeah.
Way down the fairway.
Yeah. But he's got some options on tee, so it makes it. And I don't know how we got into talking about Pete, but I guess it was just the disc stuff. But
yeah, the parting line.
You gotta root for the guys here in Arizona.
Oh yeah.
So
take pride in our boys.
Absolutely. And it's Paul's brother, by the way. So the genes are all intact.
Yep.
Right? Which is now in the Wysocki family, which is a lot of,
yeah, they're intermingling a little bit.
A lot of cool stuff going on there. Do we want to talk about last week at
Sure,
all?
the tournament. Yeah, it was another exciting
Watching-
finish.
Nicholas, is that the finish because he's Finnish?
Ha. Ha ha
It
ha.
was a nice finish.
It was a nice finish.
It
What a
was.
nice fin.
It was. So congratulations to that young man. But the fact that he had to birdie the putt on 17 impressed
Oh
the
my
heck out of me.
goodness.
And can we talk about these 3 tournaments and how great each
I was glued to the
stretch
set.
coming, these back nines, how good they've been?
Nail biting, edge of your seat type stuff.
Yeah.
If you're into disc golf, you're in love with this season.
I've been sitting with people who aren't into disc golf and they don't want to walk away.
Yeah,
They get it.
they're hooked.
They get it. That's been great. It's been great coverage. There hasn't been the blinkingness with the live where it was going in and out. You're getting some of the old poor reception, whatever that was with the connections.
I mean,
We
every
haven't
year
seen
they
it, have we?
they take an extra step up in quality.
It was really good.
And they catch a lot of flack, but they're getting better every year.
It was
So
really, really good. It was a good thing it didn't go into OT because I don't know how they would have thrown a disc in the dark.
yeah, it
And they
was
can't
really
play the
dark.
next day. So that I was really actually interested to hear what would have been the outcome of that.
Yeah, they can't just CTP it like a C tier.
Right? You go in the parking lot and set up a basket with all the cars around it with lights.
And somebody mentioned that you can't do it the next day either.
Right. So
You can't do it on Monday.
That's correct.
It's got to end today.
So I was a little curious of what they were going to do. Would have been interesting. But he made the putt. Don't have to think about it.
It's probably for the best because
Yeah.
who knows? It could have been a bit of a debacle, or it would have sucked a little bit to split it. Or because what was that tournament that Calvin and Ricky tied?
Oh, they may have split it.
Because they would have just said T1 and called it a day.
Huh.
Can't play anymore. That's what happened at, was it Ledgestone? And then Calvin and Rick played for the trophy at the next tournament
Wow. That's very soccer-esque.
to take a point apiece and call it a day.
Yeah. Split the cash. But if you're both technically winners, then you both technically get 2 years of your tour cards? Because that's the best part about winning now.
Oh, yeah.
In my opinion,
that's
is
right.
that you get a tour card now for the next 2 years. That's everything.
It's a lot of value, yeah.
Sponsorships
Yep.
and what you're able to do. And I think that's really where winning must feel really great because he was emotional. It was all those things with Nicholas. But in the back of his mind, I hope he's thinking about that because it's financially a really good thing.
It's a big win. Not
Yeah.
just that, what did he take? 13K
Yeah.
for winning? 10K?
10K.
10K for winning, first place.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you're placing high week in and week out, you're all of a sudden it starts to be
You're making a good living.
25,000 a month
Shoot.
in there if you're in the top, maybe more.
Top 10, yeah.
It's good. Plus your sponsorships, and I just think things start coming out of the woodwork like we're seeing with Tatar and sponsorships in Europe.
The external disc
Yeah,
golf
I think
sponsorships.
that's you're allowing that to happen. The higher you're placing week in and week out, Anthony, if he keeps this going, Discraft is going to have to ink up. They are.
Hold on to that,
They
man.
are, and I know we're excited for him. But he's off to a good start. You just keep your head all year, and it is a marathon, not a sprint in this game, isn't it?
Well, and his physical attributes are so good,
Yeah.
and now his mental has finally caught up to his physical ability. So
Yeah.
he's going to be the one to beat week in and week out.
Yeah, I think so too.
Can we talk about the emotion of the last 3 tournaments?
Yeah.
Every winner was just electric.
Yeah.
You can feel it through the TV,
Yeah.
how much it means to each player.
Yeah.
I mean, Anthony Barella winning it, it felt so heavy at home. And getting talk to his parents at
Yeah.
the memorial was so cool.
Yeah, yeah. Mom came up and gave you a big hug.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
nice. It's nice. No, it's a great community. I feel blessed to be involved in it.
Yeah.
And the
Very
people we've
thankful.
met, even the guys, all the guys from Iowa. Shout out to those guys. How wonderful they were to take the time to talk to us. And if you haven't seen the episode, please go back and watch it. There's some nuggets in there from all the guys.
Yeah, cool watching them interact with each other.
Yeah, they're as genuine as they come across. And they're also hosting clinics in
That's right.
Austin, I think, this weekend, aren't they? So if you're in Austin and you happen to see this, sign up, $50 and you get to hang out with those guys for a couple hours.
Worth every penny.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the lowest price it's ever going to be, being realistic.
Yeah.
Moving forward, this stuff's going to be less and less available. So take advantage while you can.
And Olden is a lot smarter than he lets on. He says he can't teach, but he knows a lot. You just got to get it out of him. Once it starts to flow, it flows.
Loop them into conversation.
He's a wonderful human. Hope you get to see those guys. I think it'd be great. So,
yeah, really good group of kids, those guys.
Where do you want to go from here?
Well, we could talk about the next explosion of disc golf. You know, we had this really, really big jump of popularity with James Conrad's shot at the World Championships. So when is the next boom going to be? We've kind of had a lot of growth due to that, and it's kind of planed off for the last 2 years since then. Like, everybody that was going to be interested is interested, and they've been playing and buying discs and participating and becoming members of the community, and it's been stagnant. I'm wondering what it's going to take to do the next jump.
When you say stagnant, what do you mean?
For growth. Like new players getting into the sport, because that was just the exposure of what drew the huge crowd. COVID obviously helped with the growth.
There's a couple of things that I'll throw out that will
just
help.
To theorize, yeah.
Just to theorize. If we can get or have a 2024 that resembled what the FPO had last year, is the PGA Tour without Tiger Woods? No.
Not even close.
No, there's a zero hesitation on that. Zero hesitation. No. So every sport kind of needs that dominance, that person who is doing things at the highest level with competitors doing, playing the game at the same game
at their peak.
At their peak, but there's this additional gear that Tiger Woods had, and it drew a lot of eyes onto the sport. Draw a lot of eyes on the sport. It draws sponsorships onto the sport, and all those things that come behind it.
Well, when people are talking, right?
I think that's one way it happens.
Okay. Got it.
I think it's one way it happens. And Kristen Tatar in Europe, I think once it goes back for those 7 weeks in Europe, I think she's just a rock star for 7 weeks, right? She'll have Porsche on her shirt. She'll have Nike on her shirt. She'll have, who knows between now and then what else happens. And I think the same for some of our U.S. top players that are going over there. They may get some sponsorships for those weeks that they're there. I wouldn't be surprised to hear that. So
I would love that.
Yeah. So I think that's part of it. I think the success of a few individuals, we all want to see everyone win. We do. But if a sport gets a Tiger Woods in it, it does elevate our interests. It's just, for whatever reason, it does.
Well, with the awareness of it, because everybody's talking about this one guy. Well, now I got to see what the hype is about, right?
In the 80s, many of you maybe don't remember Mike Tyson in his prime, but my father was into boxing, so I was aware of boxing. But when he came in, everyone was aware of boxing because he was unbelievable. He was hard to beat. It was dominating. It was scary to watch him.
Yeah.
And just this specimen of a human being. And Iron Mike is going to go back in the ring now, so we can circle back on that conversation with Jake Paul on how we all feel about it. But the reason I brought that up is that just, even if you're not in boxing, Mike made you interested in boxing. There was like a thing that goes with success that people
just draws more attention.
It draws more attention. So I'm hoping that happens. And I don't know if it's Anthony Barella, if it's Ricky Wysocki, if it's Macbeth, if it's someone, Cole Redolin, Klein, or maybe Gannon just keeps on going and doesn't lose the rest of the year. That's going to really be great for the sport.
Good.
If they, I think. And then the second part of this, in my opinion, would be what Jeff Spring is doing and those dollars and where they're coming from. Now, we know Microsoft is sponsoring Minnesota now, the Preserve.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a huge sponsorship.
That's a big deal.
Yes.
And I think that will, again, bring eyes to it. Why is Microsoft sponsoring disc golf? How did that happen? And so if they're dipping their toe in the water, there's going to be others that are going to be looking at that would maybe be dipping the toe in the water. So that's where these optics and the best foot forward, making sure the tee areas are clean and the
very presentable.
Presentable really matters. It matters to big companies like that because they want to, if they're going to put their name on it, they want that product to be a good product.
Oh yeah.
Period.
Well, and the fact that a tech company like Microsoft, who has obviously done their research into what marketing and the clientele of disc golf, they see it as worth it. Other companies are going to take interest as well, just like you said.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's how it happens. So, fingers crossed, right? That that we see some real continued great ends to these victories. But it would be pretty fun to watch someone have a year that we've never seen before in MPO.
That would be a big deal for the sport
in the modern
absolutely.
era. Because obviously, if Ken Climo was around and he was having one of those years,
or if Macbeth was in his prime where he was winning every tournament,
and you're watching it, with today's coverage and everything else, I think that is a catalyst.
There are so many media outlets right now that are creating for disc golf. All these players have their own YouTube channels. I think something like that could potentially pop the sport off too.
Yeah, I agree.
With how many people
I think it
are
is.
creating.
I think it's what's holding it up.
Oh, I suppose so, because there's so much content out there to watch. I mean, look at us making content.
Yeah.
That only just hit me in the head.
Exactly.
We're sitting here making content.
Yeah.
Being part of it.
Right. Love the game, want to promote the game.
It's got to be a reason why so many people are doing it, right?
Yeah. No, for sure. But we're all very passionate about it, and we want others to understand how great the game is. Now, me coming from 40 years of playing golf, look, I find this to be way more enjoyable.
Oh,
I'd rather
so much more.
age gracefully with disc golf than with golf.
Right.
I just would. And let's talk about the environmental factors. A golf course, the water that goes on a golf course, the amount of chemicals that goes on a golf course to make it green.
Wow.
Is insane.
Yeah.
The amount of chemicals that make it green. And it's funny that no one raises a stink about that.
Oh no, because there's too much there's too much money in golf to fight that, right?
But disc golf has all of those things going for it, going forward, which I think comes into play at some point.
That's a big pro.
It is a huge pro. It's a very green sport. And whereas I'm not necessarily that guy that flies the flag that way, but
push the green agenda, right?
But it is one of those factors that the sport has for it. So let's say you're looking for land, you're looking at a distressed golf course. Why is the golf course distressed? It's distressed because the bills it costs more to operate than they bring in terms of revenue, so it gets distressed. In disc golf, distressed is good, because then we can water the things that need to be watered, like the trees, and we don't have to worry about fairways costs, and we don't have to worry about greens costs. We don't have to worry about day-to-day maintenance costs.
Maintenance is way down.
Yeah, and those things are like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah.
Just boom, 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 boom. It just adds up. So yeah, for a typical, I think, golf course, public golf course to operate a year, I would probably be in the right to say it's somewhere between $2 and $3 million to maintain a public golf course every year.
I think that's a conservative number too.
Keep going.
A lot of these guys talk about $1 million a year just in water.
Yeah, if their water's coming from the city and they're not pumping it out of their own well, then really nasty.
Spendy.
Really nasty, especially here in the desert. And there's 240 golf courses in the desert.
I think we have the per capita highest golf course population.
It's time to leave a little water, maybe in the underground, and get some disc golf courses built.
Yes.
They will come.
Well, there's a reason why disc golf courses keep ending up in like little nature preserves as well, where they can't develop anything. They'll just put some public use stuff in there, and it ends up being disc golf a lot of times. Yeah. There's quite a few of those in Texas. Ricky was just talking to us about one out there.
Yeah, no, they're for sure. Yeah, well, I think that's where it's going. So
I like where it's going. We all like where it's headed.
Yeah, that's good.
That was good.
You want to leave it at that?
Yeah, I think we can.
All right,
put a bow on it.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good night, guys.
Good job. Whoa! Hey, boys.
What's happening?
Look at that sky tonight before we do a little filming. That is nuts.
And this is a good taste of Arizona. It's raining, the sun's out somehow,
right?
but it's orange outside, windy.
Really trippy. There's like layers to it. It's really cool looking. Bonus coverage for the fans.
Yeah, give them a flavor of Arizona.